Hello class and welcome to week 8 in MSE 608B. This is your final, I'll call it team assignment for the West Company. This is going to be your project report, your final project report. This is where you're going to summarize all of the information that you've captured over the last 8 weeks. It's going to be a different type of, I'll call it information download to the West Company than what you did during the presentation. That PowerPoint presentation covered specific agenda type of items. This has a more, I'll call it a APA paper flavor to it. And by flavor, I mean you have to adhere to APA format guidelines. Let me walk you through all of the components necessary and then the grading rubric, because we want your team to get as much credit as possible here. And there's a couple things that I need to warn you about. In the past, teams have done a great job putting together a final project report, but it didn't cover the areas that I can grade on. So you need to follow the grading rubric. Make sure you follow that along with the template that we've provided. So we've got that presentation guide that we showed you previously. I just want to make sure that we pull it up and walk you through it. So in the presentation guide, not only does it have the final project report and presentation information in here, there is specific information about the report. You need to make sure you go through, look at all of this information specifically on what we're asking for. We want to make sure that you've got all of the correct information available. Now, once we're done with that, I want to go ahead and pull up the next thing, which is a specific assignment report for you. So this was created to tell you the format of the paper. Use the template provided. 3,000 to 3,500 words, no more than 4,500 without a point deduction. If you run into problems putting the template together and holding to these requirements, contact me. Let me know what's going on. It may be something as simple as, rather than putting together I'll call it a matrix of chart of word for your word count, you can put it in as an image. Put it in as a figure or an illustration, or you can put it in as an appendix towards the back. So there are ways to get around the word count in a professional manner. So remember, you're putting together a business type of report. This is a high-tech company that you're working for, and as a leader and manager within that company, you're responsible for helping your team put together this professional report you're going to be submitting to the West Company. You can almost imagine that we were paying you for it. So if we were to pay you for this report, that's part of what our expectation is. Once you're done reviewing this information, the next thing I want you to know is that I do have a template created for you. If you go to the template, make sure you erase the information like sample template. Get rid of that. Put a running head up here. So make sure you put a running head here. Put your team member names here. Put your team name here. Get that information in, and then you can go ahead and fill in the month, day, time type of information. But this format is an APA formatted document already set up for you. I need a table of contents. Make sure you give me a good, clean table of contents. You're going to put together an introduction. You can call it an abstract. You can call it an executive summary, whatever you want. It's a half a page to a full page long. The introduction is where you introduce what it is you're going to talk about. Make sure you look at this. There's bookends in a paper, the introduction and the conclusion summary. So the introduction is where you tell me what it is you're going to tell me in the paper. The conclusion is where you tell me what you already told me in the paper. So remember, those are bookends for the information that you're going to provide. Very similar to what you did during your presentation, you're going to be covering a lot of the same ground. West, background information. What did you find as far as background information? You may have had to make some assumptions. You may have had to make up information. Make sure anything that's relevant is placed here. The vision statement. Give me a copy of the vision statement. Give me an explanation as to why a vision statement is important, why you created it this way, what the process was. The next piece is going to be the purpose statement. The same thing. You created two unique statements separate from each other, but connected. I need to know what the purpose statement was that you created, the process, why you went through what you went through. This is based on values. Tell me what those values were. The strategy, you've got multiple strategies you put together. You did them at 3 different levels. Explain those, explain what they are, explain why strategies are important. Why would a high-tech business or high-tech organization create strategies? How do those filter through the vision and the mission and the purpose? How are they aligned? We're looking for alignment here. Give me information on the strategy alignment. SMART goals, you created goals and objectives dependent upon the strategy. So there's this flow. I'm looking for the flow. Tell me what the SMART goals were. Tell me why they're important. Explain it to me. Pretend that I'm a newbie, that I don't have any previous information, that I am a new person. I'm an executive that gets this handed to them. This is a white paper that explains exactly what your team has accomplished in the last 8 weeks. The business balance scorecard. Give me information on it. Give me a reason why you created it. What was the effort for? The same thing with your key performance indicators, your KPIs. Tell me which KPI was the most important to you. Tell me which strategy you think was the most important and why. Also, list for me the positive and negative risks and identify the top 2. What was the top, negative risk, and how did you handle it? How did you mitigate it? How did you eliminate it? What were the 2, I'll call it high positive risks, the ones that you wanted to capture, the ones that you wanted to make sure that you took advantage of, and how did you plan to do that? Also create a snapshot of the matrix. Provide the matrix here with all of the numbers associated with it and talk about the ones that are red. Is that the one that you needed to mitigate and why? Look at the ones that are green. Explain to me, are you going to find a way to capture those? How do you find a way to make that a very good positive for yourself and your team? I want you to talk about the leadership training program. And remember, this was based on the people-centric philosophy. So explain to me the training program for the leadership perspective of it from that perspective. And the same thing with the rewards and recognition program. Both of these areas were people-centric. Why is people-centered, reward and recognition important? What were the programs you designed and developed? You had multiple programs you were supposed to put together. Explain those, list those, give me information on it. And then you've got a conclusion summary. Once again, this is a half a page to a full page. If you need more space, let me know. And then you've got references. Make sure for the reference page that anything that you add here, if it was an internet informational type of, I'll call it reference, that you put a retrieved from and a date that it was retrieved or available to be seen. Those are the 2 requirements that I have for you from an APA perspective. There's a little bit of flexibility here. This covers the template. Let's go ahead and take a peek at the grading rubric. You're going to see very similar to the paper template structure. You've got the first piece, adheres to APA formatting standards. So you've got points associated with making sure you format things to an APA standard. If you use auto table of contents and you put a table of contents in with the auto function, many times it's going to default to, I'll call it a non-APA formatted text font. It's going to come in as Calibri or Cambria. If you do not change that back to either, Helvetica, Times New Roman, or Courier, which are the 2 approved formats for APA, if it doesn't match that, or if you use multiple font styles, I will be deducting points. So make sure you understand that. The cover page, the table of contents, the abstract, all of the information is described here that you need. Make sure you take a peek at the description. This is going to cover the final project that you've got for us from a West perspective. It's week 8. You're almost across the finish line. I really look forward to reading these and providing you feedback and comments on it. Congratulations on a very challenging 8 weeks, and the West Company thanks you. Have a great week. Goodbye.